Sleep, it's the one thing we all have in common, yet we know surprisingly little about it. In fact, of the 1/3 of our lives we spend sleeping, we still don't understand most of what goes on. But what we do know is that it's crucial for our survival. Without sleep, we die within days. In this series, we'll explore all facets of sleep, why we need it, what happens when we don't get enough, and how we can improve our sleep. Today, I'll start with 3 important things that happen while we sleep that we often take for granted. 1. Many parts of our bodies get a boost while we're asleep. Our bodies are constantly breaking down and repairing cells, but this process speeds up while we're asleep. During deep sleep, our body releases proteins called cytokines that help heal and protect the brain. This is one reason why sleep helps prevent neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's. And it's not just our brains. Sleep also allows our immune system to produce infection-fighting compounds called immunoglobulins. So if you didn't get much sleep last night, you might be more likely to catch a cold. Our bodies also remove toxins while we sleep. For example, the brain clears out waste products and harmful proteins through a process called lymphatic system. Waste builds up in the brain throughout the day when we're awake, so it makes sense that we clear it out while we sleep. In fact, research suggests that sleep deprivation increases the risk of developing dementia because the brain doesn't get a chance to clear out waste products effectively. All of this is to say that sleep isn't just about feeling rested. It's an essential part of keeping our bodies healthy and functioning properly. When we sleep, our bodies have the chance to clear out waste products, repair damaged cells, and boost our immune systems. So next time you're tempted to stay up late, remember that every hour of sleep you get is an investment in your long-term health. 2. We consolidate our memories. One of the most important things that happen while we sleep is that our brains consolidate our memories. That means we transfer short-term memories to long-term storage. This is important for 2 reasons. First, it allows us to remember important information for longer periods of time. Second, it helps us forget important information that we don't need to remember. The process of memory consolidation takes place during the first few hours of sleep after we learn new information. This is why it's important to go to bed soon after learning something new, like before studying for an exam. If we don't sleep after learning, the information won't be transferred to long-term memory. And if we don't sleep well, the information may not be consolidated properly and we'll forget it more quickly. In addition, sleep helps us process and store emotional memories. We don't want to remember every single detail of our daily lives. Instead, we want to remember the big moments, the ones that evoke strong emotions. Sleep helps us sort through our experiences and decide which ones are important enough to keep in our memories. When we wake up from a good night's sleep, we're better able to concentrate, pay attention, and make decisions. This is because sleep helps us process and store information in a way that makes it easier to retrieve later on. Overall, sleep is essential for maintaining cognitive function and preventing cognitive decline. Without sleep, we would forget everything we learned and be unable to think clearly or make decisions. And 3, it saves energy. We typically burn fewer than 100 calories per hour while sleeping, which is equivalent to 1.5 ounces of bread or a banana. And since we sleep for roughly 8 hours a night, we save about 800 calories daily. That's roughly the same amount of calories as running a marathon, and that's no coincidence. Since we started hunting, gathering food, and then farming, humans have been saving energy at night. Being active during the day when the sun is shining allowed us to collect food and perform tasks. Conserving energy at night helped us survive without going hungry. Now, thousands of years later, our biology hasn't changed much. We still need to eat and drink less while we sleep. And this helps us conserve energy so we can be active during the day. There are some exceptions. For example, women who are breastfeeding may need to wake up more frequently to feed their babies. However, even in these cases, the body will still try to conserve energy by reducing the amount of time spent in deep sleep. There are also some medical conditions that cause people to wake up at night, such as sleep apnea. But these are the exceptions rather than the rule. In general, we can safely go for a long time without food or drink because our metabolism slows down while we sleep. This is not only helpful for conserving energy, but it also allows us to rest and digest. When we wake up, we're ready to start the day feeling refreshed and energized. Of course, if we don't get enough sleep, we'll feel tired and hungry the next day. But that is just our body's way of telling us that we need to rest and recharge so we can be at our best. It's easy to overlook these important things that happen while we sleep. After all, It's not like we can see them or measure them directly. However, the evidence for the importance of sleep is all around us. Just look at the animals in the wild. Almost all of them sleep, including birds, reptiles, insects, and mammals. Even single-celled organisms like bacteria sleep. Sleep is an incredibly conserved behavior, meaning that it has been passed down to us from our ancestors and is essential for life. Without sleep, we wouldn't be able to survive. Let that sink in for a moment. We literally wouldn't be here if it weren't for sleep. It's not just about feeling rested or being able to function during the day. Sleep is a fundamental part of our biology, and although we don't fully understand it yet, we know that it's crucial for our survival. That is why it is so important to prioritize sleep and make sure we are getting enough every night. When we don't get enough sleep, we put ourselves at risk for a number of health problems. The most obvious consequence of sleep deprivation is that we feel tired and irritable during the day. However, there are also more serious risks associated with not getting enough sleep. For example, sleep deprivation has been linked to obesity, heart disease, high blood pressure, and diabetes. Lack of sleep also impairs judgment and decision-making abilities, as well as reaction times and hand-eye coordination. And the effects of sleep deprivation are cumulative. This means that if we don't get enough sleep tonight, it will add to the sleep debt we already have. Eventually, our bodies will force us to pay back the sleep debt, often in the form of a nap or an early bedtime. Of course, catching up on sleep is better than nothing, but it's not the same as getting a full night's rest. The bottom line is that sleep is essential for both our physical and mental health. When we don't get enough sleep, we're putting ourselves at risk for a number of health problems. However, there are simple things we can do to improve our sleep hygiene and make sure we are getting the rest we need. Now, if you've made it this far, I have to admit something. I'm not actually a top-tier expert in sleep science. In fact, I'm not an expert in anything other than entertainment. The truth is, I am a creative director at a media company where my job is to come up with fun ways to teach science. I love teaching science because it's a never-ending source of wonder and amazement. Every time I learn something new, I am reminded of how much there is to discover and how much we still don't know about the world around us. I hope that if you watch this channel, you feel the same way. You might be wondering why I chose to focus on sleep. Well, I figured that if I was going to pretend to be an expert in something, I might as well choose something that affects all of us. Sleep is a fundamental part of the human experience. We all need sleep, but we don't really know why or how it works. I thought it would be fun to dive into the science of sleep and explore all the amazing things that happen when we are sleeping. But now I'm curious to hear from you. What do you think? Is there anything I missed? Anything you wish I had included? Leave a comment below and let me know. Also, please subscribe and follow us for more videos like this. Until next time, thanks for watching.